G'day cocktail lovers, I hope you've been keeping well. Hope the whole Christmas period treated you well, whether you celebrate it or not. And hey, I don't know about you, but I was actually pretty good to myself around the Christmas period and bought myself a few treats. And this week I think I'm going to make a couple drinks to show off a few bottles I bought. Actually had about 4 days away, not far away, it's about an hour and a half away from where I live, sort of go up the coast a bit to a place called Blackthorn Peninsula outside of Melbourne, and there were a couple of distilleries there and went and had some gin tastings there and bought a couple of bottles. The first one I went to is in Geelong, is called the Anther Distillery. They make a few really nice gins. As I said, I did taste them. And I bought this one. This is like their version of a Sloe gin. It's a cherry gin. I bought it because it was the most different, essentially. They were all good, but this one was the most different. And if you've probably heard of Sloe gin, a lot of people make the mistake of thinking it's S-L-O-W, and they think it's something to do with a slow distilling process, but it's actually about sloe berries, S-L-O-E. So this sloe berries, you can probably grow them in Australia if you tried, but they're not very common. This is Anther's version of it. It's a cherry thing, but I'm going to substitute it in a recipe for a cocktail called a Blackthorn that traditionally features Sloe gin quite strongly. Also features London dry gin. This is not so much that, but this is from the other distillery I went to, the Blackthorn Peninsula. One of their gins they call Teddy and the Fox. They have a bunch of cute names for their gins. This one, apparently the distiller who made it, she describes this as a gin for people who think they don't like gin. And it's got really strong citrus notes. It's really good. And again, I got this because it was the most different. All their gins were good, but this one was the most different. So I wanted to get a couple of things that were quite different to the gins I already had. So these are the two, and these form the bulk of this cocktail I'm now about to make, the Blackthorn. As I said, Sloe gin is central to the Blackthorn. It's going to be 1.5 ounces or 45 mils of, in my case, the cherry gin. Sloe gin is pretty easy to get around the world. Just a side note, if you look up the cocktail, the Blackthorn, you may find there's another cocktail called the Blackthorn, and it has Irish whiskey and absinthe. It's a totally different drink. There you go. But apparently the Blackthorn as a gin cocktail has been around for a very long time. It's a classic that no one really knows where it came from. But that's what we're going to do now. Starting off, 45 mils, 1.5 ounces of Sloe gin, or in my case, cherry gin. We're also going to add 1 ounce or 30 mils of more standard gin. Again, as an aside, Sloe gin will almost always be a comparatively lower alcohol volume, between 20 and 30%. So 1.5 ounces of the Sloe gin, and I'm going to put 1 ounce, 30 mils of regular strength gin. We're also going to add 20 mils, 2/3 of an ounce of sweet vermouth. I'm using an Australian vermouth from Unico. This is their yuzu vermouth, and this, I was just realizing, this is almost, it's like a gin Manhattan almost. A Manhattan would be a whiskey and sweet vermouth. In this case, we are doing some gin and sweet vermouth for our Blackthorn. Final touch, we're going to put some Angostura bitters in. In this case, we are going to do 3 dashes of Angostura bitters. Now, I was thinking you could stir this cocktail because there's no citrus in it, but the recommendations I saw from multiple sites online were to shake it. So add ice to the shaker, bang it together, and shake for about 10 seconds. Now I'm going to strain that into a chilled coupe, and we get that lovely rich colour. Yes, if you have Sloe gin, it'll be a very similar colour to this, but the combination of the Sloe gin, or in my case cherry gin, and the sweet red vermouth give it a wonderful colour. But how does it taste? Ooh, oh, that's good. It's got the really rich sort of berry flavors, the cherry from the gin, the sweet vermouth is, of course, even though it's only 20 mils out of the whole thing, it's still quite noticeable. I'm surprised I'm not really tasting the bitters, maybe very late on the palate. There's a little bit of the bitters balancing everything. but it is a very nice drink. Oh, I have to make this one for Mrs. Angry. She doesn't like citrus in drinks. And this is full of flavour without actually having any citrus in it. So, it's probably the reason it's been around for as long as it has. It's a very pleasing drink. As I said, although I used the locally made cherry gin from Anther, I was going to say cherry brandy for a second there. Sloe gin and its variants, you basically get them around the world. The big makers make Sloe gin as well. And it's nice to put a big chunk of the very flavourful Sloe gin in because it's lower alcohol by volume, and just a little bit of regular gin to beef it up as well, and the sweet vermouth to give it a bit of depth and richness. All around, this is quite a good thing, and probably just one of several drinks I'll explore with these new gins that I was kind enough to give myself for Christmas. So I hope you looked after yourself as well, and I hope you continue to look after yourself through the year and look after the people around you. Hope to see you again soon. So hey, if you're not already subscribed, it would be great if you did. And yeah, let me know if you treated yourself at Christmas. And on top of that, I hope to see you again soon. I'm going to finish this off, so I hope you stay well, and I'll just say cheers.